back to My Best Friend's an Engineer. I'm Libby.
And I'm Lexi.
And today we have another interview for you guys. This is someone who has their mechanical engineering degree, and she works in the cybersecurity industry. So very different, I feel like, from our other guests that we've had on so far.
Yes, definitely. And she talked a little bit about her managerial roles and, her experience with interviewing candidates. So I thought that was some pretty good insight. I don't think we've had that yet too much.
Yeah,
so
that was kind of cool to listen to the other side of the table and like what someone is looking for when they go to hire someone with an engineering degree. I feel like that was really useful information.
Definitely. And she's also interned in so many different industries. So I feel like there's a lot of like stereotype with internships or like, I don't know, research or just jobs in general. They're like, okay, stick to one industry. So I really liked that she was able to talk about how she was able to leverage those skills from one industry and enter a different industry.
Well, I also love how she just had like confidence and she was like, I'm just here to be curious and to learn. And like, I don't know if I would have been able to do that. Like I co-opted at one company and then I came back and interned at the same company because it just like felt safe. But I loved how she literally has been in so many industries.
Yes, and the curious mindset, I love that. I'm like, maybe I should be curious about my work assignment now.
Curious.
I'm like,
curious.
Do that mindset, then it'll be easier to get it done.
Well, before we go into the interview, how was your Friday night? Oh wait, no, Saturday, because we recorded Saturday night. So then, how's your Saturday night?
It was splendid. So, like I said, we're still rejuvenating from all the work travel. So, literally just watched Wicked Tuna.
I need to watch the show, it sounds like.
Yes, it's on Netflix. Or maybe it's on like Disney Plus. I don't know. Wicked Tuna. It was
what? Is it about fish? Is it about little tunas?
Tuna. It's literally about, well, it's the Outer Banks version. So there's apparently like a whole other series. But I think it's so interesting. So I didn't watch it alone. My boyfriend obviously, like, he came. I don't want people to think I like did that for
You're in a dark room and you're watching Wicked Tuna alone on a Saturday night.
And we just think it's so funny. Like, I don't know, we just randomly like started watching it, and it's like all about the tuna. It's like they're very dramatic. The fishermen, they're making drama. It's funny because they repeat a lot of stuff because there's not much content that you can get. But it's interesting to see how they like price the fish after, and like they weigh it, and how you like, I don't know, the scientific aspect of tuna fishing. I love it. But no, it's just like we started as a joke, and now we're like, let's just watch it. Like, it's an easy one.
Wait, this is a dumb question. Is it like an animation or is it like real people?
No, it's like real people in the Outer Banks. It's like different boats, and it's like.
Why did I thought you said it was the Outer Banks version? I thought it was like an animation of the Outer Banks show, but with little fish.
Little fish. Oh my god.
I was like, that's what I was picturing in my head.
That's so funny. No, it's like a. I don't even know.
Is it like a History Channel type show?
Yeah. Like I was gonna say National Geographic, but like a reality show version. I was like, oh my gosh, like what else drama can you get? But so that's what I did. Yes. But
I love that.
How about you? What did you do last night?
Well, are we saying this on the podcast? I guess we are, but we're going to Miami in a few weekends, and not Florida.
The school, not Florida. Yeah.
And I was just trying to look for hotels, and we're dummies and forgot like it's spring and probably parents' weekends. We totally should have looked at hotels earlier, but I just kept forgetting. I don't know. I'm so bad at booking travel. Like, I'm bad at being proactive about booking travel. I need to be better about that. Like, we should have done it when we had it in our head.
I know. I think there was just so much going on this past few weeks with us, like with work. But yeah, we're going to go present at a SWE presentation. We'll talk more about it later, but we're kind of prepping now.
I think when this episode comes out, we probably are. I think we've already. No, wait. This weekend.
Yeah, we definitely would have.
Or have we already gone?
Okay.
I don't know when this is coming out. I think we've already gone.
Inception.
So we might have. We might have already posted updates on our story.
Yeah, I'm thinking we do like a podcast episode on the drive there, or we do a live, or we do something fun.
Yes.
I don't know. It could be funny, but yes, that's what we're doing. So yeah, we'll do Hamilton, a little hotel around there. So thanks for looking though.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into it, let's read some reviews. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So actually, this one's a little different. This was actually a DM we got. So I thought it'd be fun to like change things up. We actually just
Yeah.
posted on our story. So, we're asking what's one thing that the podcast has helped you with so far. So we'll probably want to do like different questions like that just to spice it up a little bit, change
Just
things
to
up.
spice it up.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for that. Follow the Instagram at my best friend's an engineer. So we got this DM. Just found the podcast and sent it to my STEM teachers and fellow female engineers. I've been an engineer since 2012 and wish this would have existed then. Listen to you ladies on the 3-hour ride to a job site. That is so exciting.
I
I
love
love this because
that.
I feel like our intended audience was kind of like maybe college students or
Mm-hmm.
like younger. So I just love that we're able to kind of relate to people who have been working in industry for a while. So that's pretty cool to
Yeah.
see.
And I feel like it's cool that we almost like have like people who have been in industry almost like their approval, like they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, keep doing what you're doing, girls." So I love hearing that
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
Well, this person left a review on our Google form, and if you guys don't know what that is, basically we're doing a giveaway when we reach 100 reviews on Apple Podcast. And so make sure you click the link in the show notes and then the link in our Instagram bio to see what the Google form is, because that's how you submit your name to be in the giveaway. But this person says, "I'd love to be on the show, but also it's so fun to listen to. Really cool that it comes out on Mondays. I always have tons of emails and paperwork to catch up on at the start of the week, and usually do it while listening to podcasts. It's so fun to hear fellow woman in engineering. Monday motivation." I love that, and yeah, we figure this would be a good way to like kick off your week. And this was all. It's always like I feel like busy to start your Mondays off. You have like all this catch up work to do, so hopefully we can be like just these little gals in your ear chatting away and keeping you company while you do that.
Yes. And to touch on the part about coming on the podcast, we would love to we have a lot of people reaching out. So we're going to
Mm-hmm.
do maybe like a Google Forms or something just to make it more
Yeah.
organized. But we would love to have you guys and listen to all your experiences. Maybe we'll do like a panel with multiple, listeners.
Ooh.
I don't know. We have so many
We have so many
thoughts. But
ideas. Yeah.
yeah. So we just want to emphasize that we definitely have heard that we want, more guests are wanted and we're
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah. We've got some things in the works. So hopefully it's funny too, because when people are listening week by week, they don't really see like the behind the scenes that go into the episodes. Like to give you guys some context, like we're recording this on Sunday, March 27th, and we already pretty much have like all of May booked out with people. So we hear you, and we're excited for what's to come with the podcast.
Yes. So I think let's get into cybersecurity with at Cybersecurity Girl, Caitlin.
Let's do it. And if you guys like this episode, make sure you share it on your socials. And I hope you enjoy the episode. All right. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have on another awesome guest for you guys. Caitlin, would you like to take it away and introduce yourself to our audience and what you majored in and maybe what you do for a job now?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Like Libby said, my name is Caitlin. I was a aerospace mechanical engineer undergrad, and then I did industrial systems and engineering management in grad school. And I'm just super excited to be here right now. I work in cybersecurity, so very different from what I did in college and grad school, but I still use the foundational principles of engineering every day. So I love it, and I'm really, really happy to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you go to grad school right out of school? Right out of undergrad or?
Yeah, so my school had a program. It was like a 4+1 program where if you got good grades at undergrad, you could apply as a junior to go into their grad school without having to take any what's the master's
Like
test that you have to
the
take
GRE
normally?
or GMAT? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, the GRE. So I didn't have to take any of those, and it was based on like how well I was doing in school. And then if you got into the program, got accepted, you could also start taking your graduate program like during your undergraduate years. So it helped because it was a lot cheaper, and I could get my graduate degree after like only a year because I started taking my graduate classes my senior year of college. So it was really convenient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
after it.
Did you know what you wanted to do with grad school? Like, was it pretty clear where the university you went to, what mechanical engineers typically graduate and go off to do grad school in, or like how was that process for you?
Yeah, so I got into engineering in like a really weird way, and I'm sure I can tell you guys that a little bit later, but I was never ever expecting to be an engineer. And just for context, like I'm in my 30s, so like engineering was really not a thing. We didn't have social media to show like or highlight any women in engineering. And honestly, when I thought of mechanical engineering, I literally thought of like a dirty like mechanic, which sounds
Yeah.
like bad. But I honestly thought it was like a car mechanic. And so I got into engineering. I was always good at math and science, and the way I got into engineering was very weird, which we can go through later. But I had 3 internships at Chevron and GE and Abbott Labs, all different locations in the U.S. And I was just like, you know what? I just don't think I can. I didn't want like a normal day job as an engineer because I was getting really bored even after my internship of like 3 months. And I was like, I can't imagine doing this for so long. And so I knew I wanted to go into more a management role because I do love people. And I was like, okay, this is great because I actually know like how it works, and now I can manage people, because I always felt like a lot of managers, like they have no idea what they're talking about, but they just like boss you around. And I never wanted to be like that type of person. So I always wanted to be in like some type of management leadership role. But I also wanted to make sure that I like did the work before so I could get that role. And then I also one of my cousins, Kelly, she was like 4 years older than me, and she did biomedical engineering, and then she went into tech consulting, and she kind of had the same career path. And so I honestly just followed her. And that's kind of how I was like, oh, this is perfect because it helps me with like consulting too, because consulting is really management as well. But yeah, that's kind of how and why I went into that kind of path, because I knew I love doing the engineering part. And honestly, there are days where I like really miss like problem solving and like doing the work. But I really don't think I could have done that for like the rest of my life. And I was seeing some of my friends that got into that field that were like very, very happy with it. And I was like, that's freaking great. Like one of my best friends, she went to Boeing, and she had like an internship at Boeing every year, like starting after freshman year.
Wow.
And she's still at Boeing, and she's still doing the same thing. And it's been like 15 plus years. And she's like so passionate about something like that. And there was nothing that I was like that passionate about that I was like, sign me up for the rest of my life. At least at that point. And so I was like, I'm going to go into more of a consulting thing, and I can move around, and because I get bored easily. I don't know.
So you mentioned that you interned at Chevron and then also at Abbott Labs. So those are 2 very different industries. Can you kind of speak about your responsibilities in those internships and how that kind of varied and why you chose 2 different industries?
Yeah. So again, I was just trying to understand what I could do with my mechanical engineering degree at the time. I got into mechanical engineering like very, very weirdly. Like I never thought I was going to do it. And I just ended up, I was in there for 1 semester. I was like, I guess I'll just stay and I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
So my first internship right after sophomore year was Abbott Labs, and they flew us all to Chicago. There was a few of us from where I was from my school. I went to USC, and they had like an incredible internship program. And I was working on production lines and manufacturing lines. So basically, I don't know if you guys know about they have a massive drug called Humira. I worked on that production line before it even came out.
Wow.
And so I was literally like design. It was so cool. That was the coolest internship, I think, and I wanted to stay at that internship, but it was my first one. So I was like, I haven't like tasted anything else or seen anything else. Like I can't stay here for like, because I knew I was going to go to grad school. So like I can't stay here for like 3+ years in an intern. Like I have to try something else. But yeah, I also learned how like there's this really, really cool program, I think called Flexim. And it's basically a way to make your production line more efficient and run smoothly. And like you can build it. So no one had used it yet. And they actually sent me and my like boss at the time to like learn it in Utah. It was like the coolest thing ever. We also worked with sevoflurane, which is like a drug that they help that helps put animals to sleep or to go under for surgeries. But they like switched. It was really cool because they like switched up the production line, and they realized that they like had a hammer to hammer on the cap, but the hammer was hitting too hard and the cap was splitting, and then people were like getting really sleepy at work because it was like leaking out.
Oh no.
It was like a whole thing. And they put me in these like they're like, oh yeah, fix it. And it was like a production line in London. So I had to like get videos of it and then like replicate it on my computer and then try to figure out like correct. And I was a sophomore. I like literally had no idea what I was doing. But that was awesome. I would highly recommend if anyone's in school to like check out Abbott. They have really, really cool internships. My Chevron one, I was literally working in an oil manufacturing, like a oil rig type of thing, not a rig, but like a plant. And every day I'd wear like coveralls and a hard hat and steel-toed boots, and like literally every day you go on site, and I was just making sure like they're just checking everything and making sure everything runs. Surprisingly, like it was weird. It was I'm not bagging on Chevron. They were awesome. All the people were great, but that was probably my least favorite. And then I did GE. I worked with alternative energy. So I worked in like board mounted power devices. And those are like the little, like, they're like little devices that are put in boxes, basically to power things and like, give you your cell service and all this stuff. But they realized that they needed to calculate the efficiency of these in when they're actually enclosed in the box. Because what happens is they're like, oh, well, these are like 99, they run 99% of the time and they're going to be this efficient. But when they're enclosed in a box and they're outside, so the box is obviously like airtight because it can't get wet or anything. Mm-hmm. They weren't running as efficiently because it would get so hot with all of them in it that I had to like literally on SolidWorks, which Libby, I saw you posted on TikTok the other day, how we all hate SolidWorks. I hate SolidWorks. But on SolidWorks, I had to design like this, basically like a box that represented what it would actually be like in the field, and then test how efficient it would be with like a certain amount in them. So that was really cool. And like, I had like a heat gun and all this stuff. So it was all very different, all really cool. But I just was like, okay, would I want to do this stuff for the rest of my life? And honestly, now looking back, I'm like, probably I would. Yeah. I do miss engineering, but.
So with your large breadth of all the different experiences you had in your internships, I'm curious, like, how did you apply your knowledge and show yourself as being a valuable addition to the team when you're interning for these? Because they're like such different industries. Like, did you get any questions of people being like, well, you haven't really done this before, so what makes you want to come over here and try this out? Or like, how did that go for you?
Yeah. So I always tell people, like, I think any engineering degree is just like a glorified problem solver. Mm-hmm. And I think most engineers are just like naturally curious. And I'm really curious about everything. So like, if I want to learn something, I'm going to like sit down and get myself to learn everything about it and do the best I can to understand it. And I think that's what I would tell people when I would go through interviews. And honestly, they were just like hiring any type of engineer as an internship. I know GE, you got to kind of pick like which one. Like they gave you like an Excel, once you got the job, they gave you like an Excel spreadsheet of all the different things that you could do and the locations where you'd be. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to be in Dallas, and the only one that was in Dallas was this weird electrical engineering one, which I hate electrical engineering. I'm not good. It was never a good subject of mine, but I was like, I'll figure it out. I want to be in Dallas. The Chevron one, they had like, they like looked at your resume and they literally had people pick which one, like, so you were kind of hand selected for specific roles. But yeah, I just think like, if you're curious about it, like, which I was, like, at that, I'm still really curious about all the things. You can do literally anything out of engineering school. Like, there's nothing that you can't do. Like, you are literally a glorified problem solver, and every company has problems that you can fix. And if you're curious and you like love learning, then I think, yeah, then you're golden. So as long as you show people that you're like willing to learn and that you're excited about whatever job, role, position, their company, then I think you're fine.
Yeah.
So to backtrack a little bit, can we hear about your story of why mechanical engineering, kind of how that got into your head?
Yeah, I used to be really ashamed of telling this story because it's so embarrassing. But I mean, I ended up writing like a bunch of papers on it to get scholarships, and I got scholarships from
that's cool.
writing this story. So I'm like, it's been out there in the world. Basically, what happened is I went to SMU as an elementary education major. My parents always wanted me to be an engineer, and again, I never was like, sign me up. Like, no. Yeah. I always wanted to feel like I could like change the world and impact, people's lives. And I was like, engineering is never going to be that for me. So I went into school for elementary education, and I also got a cheer scholarship. And when I went to school, when we first signed up, before school started, you have to sign up for your classes and you have orientation and all that stuff. During that time, one of my cheer friends was like, okay, the easiest gen ed science class, because we all have to take our like 2 years of gen ed. The easiest gen ed science class is Intro to Engineering. but it's always like, you know, completely booked after like the first round of signups because all the athletes take it. So you're going to have to convince, and even though I was an athlete, I was a freshman, so I was the first round of freshman signups. I wasn't the first round of like all signups. So she's like, you're going to have to convince your like guidance counselor that you like might be interested in engineering, because then she might actually like be able to pull some strings and get you in. And I was like, okay, perfect. So I go to my guidance counselor, I tell her how interested in engineering I was, and I didn't realize that she was also the mechanical engineering guidance counselor at all, like, because you're just given like a general guidance counselor.
Yeah.
And she like was like, oh, so you're like interested in mechanical? And I was like, yeah, like I'm interested in any engineering. And she put me in an intro to mechanical engineering class, and I was like easy, got into this intro class. Halfway through the semester, I like go to my friend. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the hardest class I've ever taken. Like, none of these are athletes. Like, what's going on? And she's like, who's your teacher? And I like told her, and she's like, that is not the class. And I was like, what? And so I looked, and it was an intro to mechanical engineering class. It was not an intro to like all engineering. And I was like, okay, well, like, I actually find this interesting. My parents would be happy. Like, I'm already gone through like almost a semester at this point. Might as well just stick with it. And like, honestly, every semester I was like, well, one semester down, however many more to go, like keep going, like it'll pay off. And I love doing it. I honestly don't know how I got through every semester. Did you guys like, I feel like every semester I'm like, I don't even know what I learned. I don't know how I got through it. Okay. I didn't know if that was just like a me thing, because every semester I'm like, oh, one more down, like keep going. And it's not because I didn't love it, but it was just because it was like so hard.
Yeah.
I totally felt that way, and I was like, well, I'm paying for my degree, and like there's no turning back, so we might as well keep going.
Yeah. It's funny because
and I was like, I didn't tell my parents at first, and my dad only found out like 2 years in when I wrote the essay to get a scholarship.
Okay.
And he was like, seriously, this is how you got in? And I was like, yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah, this is why.
It's funny because I had that same mindset. Like, it was like sophomore, junior year. I was like, I'm not going to be a chemical engineer. Like, I'm not going to be an engineer. I was like, we're halfway through, girlfriend. Like, you're going to do it. I'm like, no way. So.
Yeah, but I think the other thing is, like, you guys had each other, right? Which is why you started this podcast.
Yeah.
And, like, one thing I really want to hit on is that you need mentors. Like, you can't just like be by yourself. Like, the only reason why I stayed in it is because I had like the amazing girls in this group called Society of Women Engineers. I don't know if you're a part of SWE. And those are also like great ways to get internships, great ways to like work, find friends, study with other girls, and like just like cry about how hard it is together. And like, I think like you need a mentor, but you also need to be a mentor. So like it gave me, that's where I felt like I had purpose. Like when I was younger, I had like an older senior mentor. And when I was a senior or junior senior, I had like younger mentors as well. And then I still was talking to the people that were older than me. And so I think one thing people really need to realize is like mentorship is like a huge thing to keep you, well, at least for me, I don't know about you guys, but like having someone that you can like relate to, because honestly, again, social media wasn't a thing back then. So I couldn't like look up someone and like message them randomly, but I like those girls were like my world. And so it was really important for me to like hang out with them and, you know, cry a lot about engineering classes.
So is that, I was just going to ask, is that kind of why you started posting on social media? Because there was that gap?
Yeah, so I feel like I was put on this earth for such a larger mission, and I've been in cybersecurity now for so long, and I started realizing every time I tell people I'm in cyber, it's like, oh, you must be really smart. And like, I was, oh, that's a nice compliment. I'm like, I'm not smart. Like, I just am very curious about it, and like anyone can get in this. Like, if you work hard, like I honestly believe that if you work hard, you can get anything that you want. And so I wanted to start, like, there's 3 reasons why I kind of started doing the like TikTok and Instagram. And it's one is to get more women in STEM and to have like be a role model, and for people that may not have that in their school or where they are. 2, because I'm not going to be like super feminist and say like, I only want women in STEM. I obviously want more people. I want people to realize how much potential they have when they're curious and excited about a subject. And there's so many people that are like, I really want to do it, but I just don't know where to start. So I wanted to like teach people how to even get into cybersecurity, and then also engineering. I still love talking about like funny times in engineering. And then the third one is to educate people more on like how to keep their data and online secure, which is not really anything related to this topic, but those are kind of like my 3 reasons why I started. But the first reason, and honestly what triggered me to even get in, is to get more women in STEM, and get more women in cyber too, but like also engineering, because I never had that, and that's what I always wanted. I think that's what you guys, I mean, that's why you guys started this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I feel like kind of what you said, I've talked to so many people who maybe didn't major in engineering, and then they heard that I majored in engineering, and they're like, "Oh, like, well, I was kind of interested in that, but I just thought I wasn't going to be smart enough or whatever."
Right. Yeah, and like I honestly don't think there's like good, I mean, there's good subjects and bad subjects, and like it takes people longer to like learn certain things, but like
Mhm.
honestly, if you're really passionate about it, like for example, let's just take Legos, right? Like if you really like, get excited about Legos, it doesn't matter how long it takes you, because you're going to do it, you're going to solve the problem anyways, right? You're going to finish whatever Lego thing you're building.
Mhm.
Some people are a lot faster at it than others, but that doesn't mean you're bad at building Legos. It just means that you might take a little bit longer, but like eventually if you keep doing it, you're going to like learn just as fast as everyone else. And that's kind of how I think like of like smart or not smart. Like I don't ever call anyone smart or not smart. I think you're like more curious or more passionate about learning certain subjects than others. And that's fine, because like obviously we've all been there, like I hate physics. I don't know why I did mechanical engineering, because I absolutely hate physics. It doesn't matter what I do, like I'm not curious about it, I'm not passionate about it, so it was really really hard for me to sit down and convince myself to like learn in school about
Yeah.
physics. But that's like a good example. It's not because I'm not smart, it's just because I don't, that's not something that excites me, that I'm gonna like try to sit down and figure out. Whereas like other things, like I loved math, I loved calculus, which sounds really weird. I like loved sitting down and trying to like figure out the problems. So
Yeah. So you have these internships, you get like all these different experiences. Now you're doing cybersecurity, but once you finished graduate school, did you immediately go into the cybersecurity field, or what was your first job out of college?
yeah, so I kind of immediately went in, and it was like another like random spur of events. I was going into applying to a bunch of technology consulting companies. So I applied to like Deloitte, PwC, Accenture, UI, all of like kind of the consulting kind of companies. And I think Hitachi too. Anyways, so I was applying, and like a lot of them started like trying to funnel me into certain types of technology. So I think Accenture was like, "Oh, well, you'll be like an SAP technology, consultant," and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Deloitte and PwC was. And then EY at my first interview, they're like, "We're really starting our cybersecurity program." Like, I really, really related. It was a woman that was interviewing me, which I love. I still talk to her, Danielle, every day. Like, not every day, but like every couple of weeks. She's freaking awesome. But she was like, "We're starting a cybersecurity company, and a cybersecurity kind of field. Like, we would love to have you." And I was like, "Okay." Like, I'm a yes girl. I think you can learn so
Yeah.
much. I mean, obviously, if you're like, heck no. But I was like, it's another thing, another type of problem I can solve. This is never going to go away for the foreseeable future. So I'm going to learn. And I said, once I got all the jobs, which was crazy. And then I was like, you know what? I'm actually really intrigued to learn cybersecurity and see where this takes me. So I accepted that consulting position, and they started like kind of teaching me on the job, and I like haven't looked back since. So it was, again, that's what's hard, because I try to like mentor people to get into the field now. And I'm like, the way I got into the field was so odd that I like don't even know what it looks like anymore.
Yeah.
But I still mentor people anyways. But yeah, it's like it was a really interesting thing, and I honestly love it. But again, I'm still problem solving at its core. I'm still being curious about learning new things, and like any job is constantly changing, right? So you can't. And also, I feel like all the stuff I learned in engineering school, none of it really mattered. Even my internships. I mean, besides SolidWorks,
Mm-hmm.
have you guys felt that? Like, are you actually using like full on using your degree?
ChemCAD?
I
No way.
mean,
Haven't looked at it.
no. Like I like to say that engineering gives you like the engineering common sense to be able to effectively communicate with the people in your field. I don't know if you feel the
Right.
same way, Lexi.
Yeah, 100%. You need to understand the background, but I'm not going to pull up ChemCAD and say, what is this bioreactor doing at this right now? No. But
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So are you still at that same company that you just mentioned?
I'm not. So I was with that company for 6 years. I actually helped. I moved to the UK for 2 years in
Oh.
London to start their like data privacy practice out there. And when I came back to the US in 2019, I went to a new job because I just got an opportunity that I couldn't turn down. It was working at like a large law firm. Like I think it was top 3 largest law firms in the world to
Oh,
start their
wow.
cybersecurity company. Yeah, it was crazy. And then I did that and I realized that law firm life is not the life for me. Um, I can say that like the people I work with, great. Like my brother and my dad are also lawyers, and I like love them. It's just like it's a very different lifestyle. So I did that for 2 years, and I just moved to another like consulting, a smaller consulting company to help build their privacy practice. So I used to do all cybersecurity. Now I work in like specifically data protection and privacy, which is how are companies protecting your data and how are they abiding by like global privacy laws, which sounds really weird, but so I had helping them start their privacy practice, and I'm at another smaller consulting company. But I love it, and everything's remote.
Mm-hmm.
Like all your teams. I mean, I'm doing like a leadership in person thing in April. But other than that, like I was able to move to Miami, and they're like, yeah, just make sure that you update your location on like when you turn in your timesheet to say
Oh,
that you're in
Nice.
Miami. Like, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, because I was going off that, I was gonna ask if you mentioned that you wanted to have, pursue a managerial role. Did you ever get there, like within those 6 years, or maybe at the position you're at now? And kind of what does that time frame look like to get into kind of a manager position?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a consultant, like obviously the first few years when you're like a staff and senior level, you're not really like managing. Uh, but I really like worked my butt off for a while. I mean, I got to that management level especially when I moved to London because I was supposed to help build that team. And then when I moved back as well. So I'm at that managerial level, but the good thing is I still get to do the work too. Like it depends on like what types of projects I work on, but there are projects where it's like me and one other person, and I'm not going to make that like team member do all the work. Like I'm going to do the
yeah.
work with them. But then there's also like the management of soft skills, which I think is super, super important. Like I really don't care about the work as much as I care about like my team and their soft skills and their like mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like a huge advocate of that, and not saying that the men on my team don't think that, because a lot of times like the leadership really like care about bottom lines, right? Like they want to make sure that you're selling the work and like keeping everyone busy, and like that's well and great, but you're not going to have a team if like you don't treat them nicely, and you're not like don't see. I feel like we live in the world now where we have to like make sure that we're caring about our team,
Sure.
which is very important, because I think back in like 20 years ago that wasn't a thing. I actually had someone on my team joke, one of the leaders, that was like, oh, do we need to like give everyone like a applause for doing what they're getting paid to do? And I was like, okay, that's an awkward thing, but like,
Yeah.
no, we should recognize people that are like doing well in their job.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's like stuff like that where we have like old school and new school, and I want to make sure that like again people are recognized if they're doing a really good job and they're like getting rewarded, and they feel like, because for me personally, like I don't want to work for someone that I don't feel appreciated by.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a me thing. I don't know. Maybe that's like our generation. Do you guys feel the
No,
same?
100%.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm not gonna work my butt off for like people that don't care. Like, why would I
Right.
do that? Why would
Right.
I spend extra hours like working really hard for someone that just is like get the work done so we can finish?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm at that manager role now, but I still do a lot of work. So it's really a good balance, honestly, and it's kind of nice. Just making sure that like everyone's staying in line, and that yes, money matters, but so does the team. So
Right. You mentioned that you went over to the UK to like start up their cybersecurity division. Does that mean you literally created it from scratch, or can you kind of walk us through how that went for you?
yeah, it was very weird. So I started specializing in data protection and privacy like 6-ish years ago. And what happened was they have a law in the UK called GDPR, which is General Data Protection Regulation, is their first privacy law, and it was like it had huge implications for companies. Like so, like if you weren't abiding by it, you would like lose tons and tons of money, and you get like sanctioned and basically like a public reprimand. But like no one knew what to do with it, and so I was working on this. I was the youngest person to be put on this like global cyber transformation project at EY, which was awesome. And I met like teams because it was like in Asia and Australia and Latin America and everywhere. And so I
Wow.
met teams from all over, and I was actually managing them as like like 3 years in, which was crazy. And from there, I would like mention to the UK team, I'm like, yeah, I actually really love to like be over there And that was when I first started specializing in data protection and privacy. And they're like, well, we don't have a data protection and privacy team over here, and GDPR just got announced. And like, we need, like, what happens is they announce it like a few years before it actually gets put into place. And so they're like, we need someone to like help build out this practice so we can actually offer services to our clients before it actually like hits, so they're prepared and they are compliant with it. And I was like, okay. So I moved over there, and yeah, I didn't like, there was already a few staff members. I think there was like 8 staff members already for cybersecurity, but there weren't any for like data privacy or protection. And so what I would do is I helped with recruiting. I trained out the people that were in the cybersecurity team to also be able to do data protection and privacy. And I built out all the templates to figure out like how we can get everyone compliant with GDPR. So that's like reviewing the rules and seeing what that even means, because it's all lawyer talk. So it's like really, really hard to understand. And yeah, I like built out everything to like have that as a service. And then we like sold that work for a few years. And yeah, and then I moved back here after GDPR hit, and we were still doing work, but I wanted to, I could not live in London. It was too gloomy. So mentally I wasn't there. It's the coolest place to visit, but I couldn't live there. So after 2 years, I was like, okay, I did my work and now I'm done. But yeah, I built it in terms of like, help like hire more people and train the current staff and like build all the things that you need to actually have that practice going. And it's still going right now. But yeah, it was awesome.
Nice. What tips would you give for someone who is looking to pursue a managerial role? I mean, engineering is hard, but I feel like managing people is just a whole different realm in itself.
Yeah. I mean, I think just like understanding yourself and your like management skills, and also, okay, first you need empathy. Like you need to understand and like feel for people, but also you need to know when you need to have a backbone. And for me personally, I've just read like tons and tons of books on like management, and I wish I like had some. None of them are coming up to my head right now, but just like constantly trying to understand and learn and grow, and understand, like I do all the the personality types, so the Enneagram and all of that stuff. And I think it's honestly, it sounds kind of weird. And if you told me that like when I first started, I would have been like, you're okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But understanding that, like even like love languages and stuff, which sound really bad because it's like obviously it's work and it's not like love, but that helps me understand like what people need to feel appreciated and loved, like from even a leadership position. So understanding like who people are at their core and what they want and like what drives them, and then also having empathy, and then understanding how you can help them in any way possible, and just being like a genuine like person. I think just I'm very, very straight up and honest with everyone, even with people I interview, which I probably shouldn't. But like I think just like having like helps people get their guard down too, like having that transparency with people, because I'm not gonna lie. I don't lie to people. Like I can't. I'm terrible at lying. Actually, like it's all over my face. It actually makes it worse. So it's just better for me to be very open. So I always start with like people saying like, "Tell me anything. Ask me anything. I'm literally an open book. I will not lie to you. I can't actually lie to you. I'm not good at it." I told that to my parents too before, and I'm like, "Don't ask me questions you don't want the answers to, because it's not going to be good." But yeah, I think that it's transparency. It's understanding how you can make them feel appreciated, and what they want in life, what their goals are to get them to their goals. Like that's another thing I always ask is like, whenever I even start a new project, is what do you want? Like, what can I help you with? What can, like, do you want just to get promoted? Do you want to like learn certain skills? Do you want to run meetings? Like, what do you want me to help you learn on this project? Because it's not like a project I want you to like sit and just like work. Like there's always something that like can be done and learned. So I think just like, yeah, understanding people and having empathy for people, but also like, that's one thing I'm still learning is having more of a backbone. Cause sometimes I'm like, I feel like sometimes I might get taken advantage of, but there's other things that are worse than that. So but yeah. What do you guys like in leadership? Like are you guys in leadership roles right now, or you kind of are?
So
because you manage a team, right?
I think Libby is more of the managerial standpoint. I think so. What I look for is again that transparency. So again, I'm the same way, straightforward. Just that's the most efficient way. Tell me what it is. Don't sugarcoat it. And that's what I tell my boss all the time. Can you give me, feedback straight up? I don't hurt my, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. I am still learning. So that's one thing I do look for. So like you mentioned.
Yeah, I always tell people in my job, I'm like, I don't know what I don't know. So if I'm doing something wrong or if there's a way that I can improve, tell me. Like, don't, kind of how you guys said, like, don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. I would rather you just tell me so that I can grow and learn from it. But yeah, I mean, I manage kind of like a team of people, but not like direct reports. It changes for every project, and I'm just very open book. I'm like, you guys probably know way more information or than I do. So whatever you can do to contribute, I'm all on board.
Yeah, for sure.
But I am curious about your cybersecurity job. So, especially coming from like the mechanical engineering background, I can definitely sympathize with you on that. What do your day-to-day responsibilities look like? Do you do like, is cybersecurity coding, or like do you do things on the internet? Like, I feel so ignorant about cybersecurity just in general. So if you could like explain like kind of a dummied down version of it.
Yeah, no, not dumb question. That's literally the question I get all the time is like, I'm not smart enough. And then I'm like, what do you mean you're not smart enough? So like, well, I don't know how to code. And I'm like, there are so many other areas of cybersecurity. There's like I'm in the non-technical. I do not code. I have not coded since I started 10 years ago. Like
Mm-hmm.
I actually was not good. We learned, what was it? MATLAB, right? We learned MATLAB.
The death of us.
I do not learn that. I like tried to learn Python just for fun, like because I was curious. I was like, yeah, I'm going to convince myself I'm curious about this, so I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
And like I learned coding languages on the side, but I've never used it. So there's so many non-technical roles, and cybersecurity is really just understanding how to protect companies' data, honestly. So there's this thing called, this is a dummy down version. Cybersecurity first started because it was called the CIA triad. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. So how are you keeping it confidential? Like, how are you making sure that the right people have access? So now that's kind of considered identity and access management. So there's whole teams that are like around making sure that the appropriate people have access. Integrity is making sure that the data is actually accurate and it's like put in correctly, and it's not, people don't need to change it if they don't need to change it. And availability is like the right people have access at the time that they actually need it. So it's not like they have to go through a bajillion different loops and holes to try to get into the data that they need. So that's kind of like the basis of cybersecurity. It's like advanced, but the people that like think, and there's so many TV shows of like people like hacking and like that is a part of it. I'm not part of that, but I've helped after. Like there's whole teams called like forensics teams, which like come in after a breach and try to figure out how they got in. There's like ethical hackers, which are like basically people that get paid to hack into companies, but like for a good reason, to try to figure out where the vulnerabilities are. Like all those are like the technical side of things. There's a SOC, which is a security operations center, again, more technical. They do like network security and architecture, which means that they're literally like building like the whole network and like from the ground up, which is way out of my pay grade. Like
it's crazy.
So much, like so many props. And like people, that's like mind blowing. I understand like the general concepts of it because obviously I have to manage it, but I don't do that. But then there's like the soft skills one, like the identity and access management one, where you're like, you really don't need to be technical. Like you're working with a software, but like we all know how to like learn new softwares, right? Like we download new apps every day and you figure it out. And then like I'm in data protection and privacy, which is like we always say understanding the company's crown jewels, which is like what's most important, like the Coca-Cola recipe. Like we don't want anyone to get it. How are we protecting it? And then also making sure that they're abiding by privacy laws. There's like so many like non-technical aspects of cybersecurity that you can get into. But yeah, I mean, most people think like I need to know how to code. I need a degree. I need a certification. I'm like, no, you need to understand that like literally you need like a passion to get a certain type of job, and then you just go for it. Like I really think that people underestimate the power of like LinkedIn and networking, because I think that if you figure out ways to get jobs, and this is another thing, people always ask about internships, like how do I get an internship or how do I get experience? And I'm like, you can like go volunteer at any like mom and pop shop and put that on your resume. Like I just hired someone that was like, yeah, I helped my parents like, parent shop abide by privacy laws during COVID. I'm like, pushing it, but like you did it. Like you went out there and you figured it out. Like there are so many people that need help with any type of cybersecurity, any type of engineering, honestly. you can get practical hands-on experience and put that on your resume. It doesn't have to be some like fully loaded company, but you need to show that you have to like, you care and you're like putting what you've learned into practice in some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a completely separate off-topic thing, but
No, but I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've seen your TikToks of, what Facebook can find out about you, what Google knows. So what is one thing that companies, like those can find out about users that scares you the most?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they can find out pretty much anything about you, to be honest. And then what everyone else always gets is like, how do you fix that? And honestly, like if you're going to use the product, you're kind of accepting that risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's only so much you can do. And like legally, they have to like tell you that under certain jurisdictions, legally, they have to tell you what data they have on you. And sometimes even legally, they have to allow you to delete the data if they don't have a lawful purpose for it. I don't know. I'm not really scared because I think I've just accepted like it's out there. There's so many websites where I'm tempted to like put it on TikTok and show but then I'm like, if someone does that to me, I'm totally screwed too. Like it shows everything. It shows like IP address, like birthday, phone number, actual address. Like I just am like, wow. I don't want that. Like you could find so much about people online, and half the time I don't even know where it comes from. So it's really like what risk, I think people need to realize like what risk do you want to accept? And also realizing that like all these social media apps, like we are their product. Like this is how they make money is from us, not because it's like trying to provide a service for us. It's like we're the product that they are getting paid on, I've accepted my information's out there. I kind of got really excited when I moved to Miami because I was like, now no one knows where I am. It's like none of my address is on there. So, I mean, I'm sure it's on a public record soon, but I'm not that scared, at least not at this point, because I've accepted that. Like, I mean, I do certain things. So fun thing is you can make a completely different like number on Google from Google Voice. So anytime I have to like sign up for a random thing, like when they make you put your phone number, I put that phone number and not my own. And it's a real phone number. Like it gets directed to your phone. And like I have like basically like a dummy email that I still like obviously have on my phone, but it's like any random stuff that I have to put in email, I'll use that. So I'm like, that's my junk email box. And like, it's my junk phone number and like stuff like that where I try to like protect myself in that way. But honestly, like it's out there. If someone wants to find me, they'll probably be able to find me, and I have to accept that it's okay. Because even like the funny thing is, it's really not the big companies that are having the issues with like data breaches. It's like the small companies that you would least expect, that you like bought a bouquet of flowers on one day and you didn't like, you put their information in and that's it. Like those are the easy companies to hack into. And those are probably the companies that are leaking your data the most, which is why I use those weird phone numbers and stuff. And also the Google Voice is completely free, by the way. So yeah, I mean, it just depends. I think people like to go after the big ones because they're obviously making the most money from your data and they're kind of profiling you from a marketing perspective. Like, but also that's a good thing, right? Like you're getting like targeted marketing, which probably helps you a little bit. So again, like I try to tell people, like, I don't have all my stuff turned off. I can turn it off, but I don't have it off because sometimes I want to learn about like new activewear or like, I don't know, fun things that actually interest me. So it just depends. What about you guys? Are you like scared of certain things or?
I don't think I understand.
I feel like
I don't understand it enough.
I just like to be ignorant.
Yeah. Ignorant is bliss sometimes. Like as long as I like semi follow my own rules and like, like I mean, there really is only so much you can do, right? I mean, the reason like I have a job is not because of that, because it was like, oh, well, privacy is, dead. And I'm like, technically kind of yes, but like I'm actually helping us as consumers because the laws help us as consumers. They don't help big companies. That's why they're getting like more and more popular. Like, again, the laws are the reason why I'm able to start requesting my data. The laws are the reason why I can request to delete my data and understand what I have and like why they have it. So when I actually like implement these laws at companies, I'm like, oh, I'm just helping everyone else because they're abiding by it. But again, it's an interesting thing.
I feel like I know all my stuff is out there and I just have accepted it at this point. And I'm like, I'm sure people can find things out if they really wanted to, and I'm just gonna pretend like it's not happening, which maybe that's
Yeah.
not very good, but
Yeah,
No, I think you can only do what you can do, right? And so like I have like a
Yeah.
VPN, which a lot of people don't do, but I think the biggest thing for me is like passwords, like because I think when people get hacked, that's like when they realize, like, and it's not because they're specifically hacking a person, like they don't they don't care. They're doing it for money, and so it's like most of these people that are getting hacked is because they have terrible, terrible passwords, and I think that's just like that's on people. And I invested in a password manager a while back, and I've never looked back. So it's like password manager basically helps you. It's how on app like iPhones how you can it saves all your passwords.
Yeah.
This password manager basically does the same thing, but it gives them like the craziest, most elaborate passwords. So and you don't ever have to remember it. The only annoying thing is like if you were to log in on your computer, you have to like pull up the password manager just like you would have to do it on iPhones. But yeah, I think passwords is like the one thing I'm like, just fix it. I know it's annoying to have a bajillion passwords, and I always sound so cliche saying it, but like that's what that's what we can control at this point, right? Like if you've already accepted that you're going to use the platforms and you're accepting that risk, that's fine. But like one thing you can control is like the passwords on those platforms too. So so it doesn't get hijacked.
For someone who hasn't watched your TikToks, I mean, I think you kind of just basically touched on it, like the passwords, but is there anything else that you can maybe educate our viewers on for them to keep their own data protected as much as possible?
Yeah. So yeah, password is like number one. The number two thing is like, if you don't have to put data in, don't put your data in.
Okay.
Just like don't. Like if there's not like a star saying that you need to do it, don't do it. There's no point. And then the other thing is like and there's so many tips and tricks that you can do to like manage and maintain, like making sure that not every piece of information is out there, which you can go to my TikTok and learn. But the other thing is you can do like VPN, which is a virtual private network. There's like things that you can do for like $3 a month, and it actually like it's a complicated thing, but basically it makes it more secure to like log into any network or anything on your phone or computer if you get a VPN. So that's a whole next level. But I think just passwords and understanding that like you don't need to give your information out to everyone. And then also from like the big players like Amazon and Google and Facebook, like there are ways to request your data. And even like smaller companies, like I could technically message my old employers and be like, please delete all the data you have on me. Legally, I think they keep it normally for 7 years, but but yeah, you can you have the ability to request data mostly from companies. If there's like a company that you're like, I don't want them to have my data on, like you can email them or go to their website. But yeah, I would just not put your information in if you don't have to, and maybe consider Google Voice. Obviously, Google Voice is tagged to an email because you have to have a Gmail account, but like again, it's pretty easy to create a Gmail account.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would create like a different kind of phone number. So all my spam calls go to that number instead of your actual one. But yeah, just try to give the least amount of data as possible, honestly.
Yeah.
Unless you want targeted ads and stuff like that. And maybe turn off the microphone or like, I don't, unless you like use Siri on a daily basis, like turn it off.
Okay.
So it's not listening to you, which I know people are like, it's not listening. And I'm like, okay.
Isn't it always listening? Like, isn't your
It
phone
freaks me out.
and like those Google Echoes, like they're always waiting for a command or something?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have mine on. I am too freaked out. Like I said, I don't really understand it, nor, I accepted it. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was looking for bedding over here, my mom was like helping me look for bedding on my phone. We were talking about bedding and stuff, and then all of a sudden we get to her room and she goes on her computer and it like has like all this bedding stuff.
That's
like,
scary.
Yeah.
Like, God. Like turn that off. Don't. I mean, but like, who cares? But still.
So throughout your, undergraduate experience, your grad school, your, work in industry, have you ever felt like you've been treated differently because you're a woman? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So I think one thing that I try to emphasize is that just because like we make it seem like it's fun and easy, like you need so much resilience. And again, that's where the mentorship comes in and like talking with people. But like, and I started a lot earlier than you, so this is still not like a normal thing. And I actually was a professional cheerleader my first year of like consulting, so that like through kind of I would get some weird comments. But yeah, I think just like, again, having that empathy and understanding where people are coming from, and like maybe they don't have like the best intentions, but just being nice about it. I've been trying to figure out, honestly, it differs every day. I don't know if I should be nice about it anymore or if I should just call them out on it. Because when I was younger, I'd just be nice and play dumb and be like, and then like walk away.
The classic laugh, the awkward laugh.
Right, the awkward laugh. And I actually just recently watched a video of this lady being like, don't awkward laugh. Like, no, then they're just going to think that it's okay. And yeah, like being a woman in this industry is not, it's not like difficult, but like there are certain things that you're going to have to accept. And like some of that is, which I literally hate saying that, but like some of that is just like dealing with men that either like one, like awkwardly hit on you, which happens weirdly a lot. And then two, like don't really respect you or what you have to bring to the table. And that happens. It hasn't happened as often, honestly, or it happened a lot like the first 5 years. And it wasn't at my specific company, but like when I was like out on client sites and stuff, it happened. And I think just, I don't know. I don't think I have the right answer to this one. It's just be resilient and know that like you're not the only one dealing with that, and like talk to someone. And HR is probably going to say you should talk to HR.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were a few times I talked to HR when I felt like really uncomfortable and I brought it up. I just never wanted to be like that burden where I was like bringing it up all the time. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, what are your thoughts on it? I don't know if you guys have had any issues with it. I haven't had any, honestly, in the last like 3 years. So I think it should be okay. But
well, I think we've talked about too on the podcast, like, of course we want to encourage women to come into STEM, and of course we want like that representation and stuff, but kind of like with the resilience that you said, sometimes I feel like you just need to accept that sometimes it's going to happen. And like, I don't know, like it sucks, but like that's what you chose to go into. So like know that sometimes it will happen. But I don't know, Lexi, what do you think?
I feel like everyone loves bashing on men in engineering, that they are just, out to get women. But I have personally not experienced that. But I think I try to keep a very professional, etiquette, I guess, in the workplace. And I think that doesn't really demand respect, but I feel like it kind of avoids like that weird, like, oh, they think they can make these comments. But also, they might think I'm uptight. So it's like a hard balance, but I'd rather them think I'm uptight than have to deal with, laughing at these comments. So I don't know. We're still working on it. We're still navigating.
Yeah. I would say I mean, obviously engineering, it happens because you work with mostly a lot of men anyways. And maybe it's just because mine have stopped because I've like started being on teams with like a lot more women. But I think this is something that you're going to have to deal with also like in any other job. Like it's just sometimes certain men, which is sad. But yeah, like I said, I haven't dealt with it in like 3 years. My first like few years was honestly pretty bad. But other than that, it's been fine. And I'm still learning, like if I haven't thought about it much because it hasn't happened to me in the last few years. But yeah, I think just having resilience and like knowing when, if you feel comfortable, and you probably should feel comfortable talking to HR if it's like that bad. But yeah, I think just you're not alone if that's happened to you.
Yeah.
So I had one more question, not related to this topic, before we do our usual closeout question, and it goes back to your managerial, like the interview part. What do you look for in candidates? Like, what traits stick out to you? You're like, I want this person on my team.
Yeah. So I look for someone that's like actually passionate and excited about the topic. And like when I get excited about things, I talk really fast, which I've been working on not talking as fast. But like just like honestly, like sheer like passion and excitement for the whatever role I'm interviewing for, and understanding like, again, I really, really don't look for like, oh, they worked at whatever company before. I don't care where you've worked before. I care like what you've done to show me how passionate you are. Like I said, one of the people I interviewed was like, yeah, I was really excited. I was in law school and my parents own a business and I wanted to help them out. I'm like, that's awesome. Like you didn't have to do that. Like that's cool that you're doing that. And then he started doing it for other small mom and pop shops. And it's like stuff like that where I'm like, all I care about is one, like your personality and like would I want to work with you. Again, that has everything to do with, and that goes back to also sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but that goes back to like networking too, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're constantly talking to someone and then they're like, oh, I would love to work at your company, and you think they're great, like I would want to work with you. The other thing is just passion. Like I get excited when other people are excited too, and so just having that environment of just people that like love learning and like love like that new topic is really awesome. I think yeah, and I personally care about like certifications, where you went to school, what grades you got, because engineering is hard, dude. Like I don't care what
Yeah.
what grades they got, as long as you guys like they got through, right? And I know people are like, well, that's not realistic because you know XYZ, and I'm like, I recruited at a lot of like all the companies, and I had a pretty large say in it, and every single time I was like, I don't care if they didn't get a good job or get a good GPA. If they're coming across my desk at that point, they've already been vetted for that. So like if
Mm-hmm.
like obviously I would assume like terrible GPAs like never got through to me, but all I care about again at that point is how passionate are they and like would I want to work with them. Um, and that's really what comes down to it. So I always tell people like start making connections. That's how I got all my internships too. I went to every single job fair
Mm-hmm.
and made connections, and I had like this book of cards, like business cards, because that's what you used back then. And I have an alarm on my phone every semester. I would write them again. So I'd see them at the job fair, and then like 3 weeks later, obviously I'd follow up after that, and then 3 weeks later I'd write them again and just be like, how are you doing? What's like pretty much the same message, but to every single recruiter that I met, because they're the same recruiters that go to the school.
Mm-hmm.
And just like making those connections and making that like friendship
The friendship.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it really helps. So like I want someone that I can have like a working relationship and a friendship with, and I also want someone that I can trust. So like I can trust you, like if you seem like a person I can trust too, like it's a huge thing. So like passion obviously is like a number one thing. Like if they don't really seem that interested, like why would I be interested?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is like, do I want to work with you? Like would I want to work with you? And then I usually ask like weird questions like what's like the one thing you're most proud of in your entire life, which sounds like really weird and it's not the normal question, but it helps me understand who they are as a person and like what they get excited about. And yeah, that's I just want to know the actual who the actual person is, not like the interview person.
I think that's great advice. I always get people like in my TikTok comments being like, "What? Like, I need advice. I have an interview coming up. Give me advice." And I always try to tell them like, people just want to work with good people. Like at the end of the
Right.
day, it's great that you got good grades in school. It's great that you did all this stuff. But if you're like if it's like talking to a wall of a person, I'm sorry, you're probably just not going to get the job. Like,
Right.
you know?
I mean, and there might be jobs out there for them. They're like super technical people that aren't like, you know,
Right.
people, and that's fine. There are jobs for everyone, but like the job that they're applying to, like with you or myself, like that's not. You want to be a consultant, you have to be like personable,
Mm-hmm.
and vulnerable, and like I don't know. I just think, yeah, I get that too all the time of like, what do I need to do? And this sounds really weird. I love Judge Judy. She's like the
I used to
best.
watch her all the time back in the day.
Me too. And then recently, for some reason, I think Facebook's been listening to me. I only get like Facebook, like Judge Judy clips. So I've
Is
just
she
been
still
watching her.
around? Like, is she still
Yes.
kicking
No,
it?
she makes like 10 million
Oh
a
my
year,
god.
like a season.
Good for
Or
her.
actually, it's 10 million an episode or something ridiculous. Anyways, but she always says like, it's a lot easier if you don't lie. So like that's what I say. Like it's you don't have to think if you don't lie. Maybe that's what she says. And like that's how I feel in interviews. Like if you're like awkwardly like overly thinking, and I know interviews are stressful, so I'm like gonna give you that. But like if you're thinking like that much, and you can tell when people are thinking like their eyes are kind of moving and they're looking in weird directions.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you don't have to lie if you're truthful about like what you do. And like honestly, I like that vulnerable truth. Like you don't have to like make up this like, elaborate lie to try to get into a job if you're truthful about your past and like what you've done. I think it's the best.
Awesome. Well, Libby, would you like to do us the honor and close us out with our usual question?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Caitlin, so with all of our guests, we like to ask this one question just to close out the interview for our audience. So, what is one piece of advice with what you know today that you could give your younger self?
Oh man, the younger self one.
Taking it
I
back.
honestly, yeah, taking it back. I mean, I would probably say the same thing I say to everyone is to stay curious, and that everything works out for a reason. Well, actually, I take that back. Those are both great. I think just to say yes to everything, obviously with certain contexts, but yeah, just say yes because that's where I've gotten honestly. Like, is I was that yes girl where I was like, yeah, these are things that people probably don't want to do, but I'm going to learn how to do it anyways, and it's me saying yes has like literally opened doors, like saying yes to engineering when I was not even planning on it, and like saying
Yeah.
yes to cybersecurity when I was never even planning on it, and like saying yes to moving and not even planning, like everything. I always took those positions. I always was like, yes, obviously make sure that it's not like completely opposite of what you're supposed to do, but
Sure.
saying yes, I think really, really does open a lot of doors for people. So that's probably what I tell myself is continue to say yes and be open-minded.
Love that.
Awesome.
Yeah. What would you guys say? Or did you already say this in another podcast?
I don't think we've ever given our takes.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it
Oh.
was like we briefly touched on it, but I was thinking about this actually the other day because I was like, have we ever answered this?
Yeah.
So I would say chill out. I get stressed about a lot of things. I overthink everything. Libby knows me. She's like, girl, like in undergrad, she's like, can you stop? I was like, oh my god, no, I'm like I can't.
Like, you got this.
So I would say relax. I guess same thing with you. Like, everything happens as it's supposed to. So chill out. I mean, we touched on it briefly, but I don't think it was like answering this actual question. But
Chill out's a good one. I'm also an extreme overthinker and always
yes,
uptight.
yep.
So
Yeah.
I get you.
I don't know what I would say. I would say probably just believe in yourself because I always was like, oh, I'm not smart enough for this, or like I can't do this, and then like I graduated and I was like, okay, I did not need to be that dramatic, like because I did it, like I was feeling so down about it, and then it's like, girl, you can do it. Just believe in yourself.
Yeah. And then my mom gave me this mug when I graduated. It says
Aww.
excellent engineer, but it says, oh, you can't see it because it's flipped around. It says, I'm proud to be 100% qualified operating, managing structural, electrical, and mechanical engineer. It's a little thing.
I want that mug.
I don't know where she got it. I was going to send it to you guys. It says,
Yeah.
it says excellent engineer on it. And then she sent it like secretly in one of my packages when I moved here. So
cute.
Like, I'll use it for the podcast.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Well, where can our audience find you? Plug yourself if they aren't already following you on social media.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you guys want cybersecurity tips or just weird, funny videos about engineering life, anything like that, I am on TikTok, cybersecurity girl, no space. On Instagram, I'm cybersecurity_girl. And then on YouTube, I'm also cybersecurity girl with no space. So basically, if you search cybersecurity girl, I'm sure I'll come up on any
We'll link
platform.
everything too.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited. Welcome if you're a new follower, and I appreciate you guys. And thank you guys so much, Libby and Lexi, for allowing me to speak and be on your podcast. You guys are honestly making waves. And I wish this cup was pink so I could send it to you because it would be so much better. Maybe we should make a mug for women.
Potential merch, podcast merch.
I know. I saw the girls rule, boys rule.
Oh my god, engineer lead. Oh my god, I love it.
Yes.
But we should make some merch. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. Honestly, this is awesome, and keep inspiring women in engineering and women in STEM in general. Honestly, it's more than just engineering at this point.
Yeah,
so.
Thank you so much for your time. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. We really hope you enjoyed it. I know that I personally learned a lot. I think kind of how we touched on in the episode, like I know that my information is out there, but like I'm just kind of ignorant to the whole thing. So it's really cool to have like a perspective of someone who's in cybersecurity and like see what she thinks on the topics.
Definitely. I'm honestly really going to look into Google Voices. I did not know that existed, so that was very helpful.
I did not really. Oh my god, we were talking about yesterday, which was last week's episode about inventing Anna.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely made an appearance. I think it definitely made an appearance in inventing Anna.
Yeah.
We won't do any spoilers. We cut it out.
I didn't even know that like you could do that on Google. Like I didn't know you could make a number and have it like directed to your phone. If that makes sense.
I know, yeah, because I had like people make fake numbers and like
Mhm.
like friends like just like doing jokes or whatever. But I didn't know it was like maybe it's the same thing. I don't think it's the same thing because it
I
was like
don't
an
know.
app. It was like a joke app or something.
Yes, I've done the apps before, but I didn't realize you could do it
Yeah.
like online.
Yeah.
I've never.
No, it
I
was
don't know.
funny
I
because
never
I
looked
would get
into it.
like texts like, oh, like something funny and like to stress me out. I'd be like, oh my God.
Like,
What?
if you don't forward this to the next 5 people, you will have bad luck for the next 7 years or whatever, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God. Okay. Forwarding. But
But
yeah.
I think this was a great episode, and as always, we totally appreciate it if you guys can share the podcast with your friends on social media, or if there's anyone, women in STEM or male-dominated field that you think would benefit from this perspective, please share it. It's just like another way that we can reach more people and hopefully have a bigger impact with like what we're trying to do with this.
Definitely. So where can they find you, Libby?
So if you want to follow me on social media, you can find me at TikTok and Instagram. I'm at my best friend's an engineer.
No, you're not. You're
Oh my
Libby
God,
being
I'm
on
an
the label.
idiot. I just said that so confidently. I was like, I am at my best friend's an engineer. Oh my God, literal autopilot right now. Well, I guess you can find us there, but oh my God, I'm at Libby B on the label, Instagram, TikTok. Wow. I need another cup of coffee.
Right. And I'm at Engineer Lexi on Instagram and TikTok. And spoiler alert, she already told you, but find us at My Best Friend's an Engineer on TikTok and Instagram. It was funny.
And then if you guys want to listen on YouTube, we are at BFE Podcast. Any final thoughts before we close off this episode, Lexi?
I'm gonna go look at my data now. Yeah. Like, what am I signing up for?
I know.
Like all my clothing subscriptions, like Shein, like
the way that she said about if you don't have to fill something in, don't fill it in. I fill everything in. If there's a space to put my information, I'm like, heck yeah, let me give it to you. Like, I don't know. I just have never really thought about it.
Ask and you shall receive is your motto,
I'm just such
a
yes woman, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they ask me for my information, I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, they want my birthday. Yeah, you can. You can send me a coupon for sure.
Yeah.
Take it. You want the birth time too? Let me give you that.
Like, do you want the hospital? Do you want the address of where I was born? Sure.
That's so funny.
If I get a free product on my birthday, why not?
Right? Yeah. You can have all my data.
Yeah. So, wow. All right. Let's close this one out. Another good episode in the books.
Oh, yes. All right. I'm Lexi.
And I'm Libby.
And thanks for listening to my best friend's an engineer. You always go so slow.
I'm watching your lips. I'm watching your lips to see if I can line up when I